Okay, let's get started with Pattern CAD. And I like to use Pattern CAD to try to create my own continuous line patterns. And by definition, a continuous line pattern begins, say, on the left and ends on the right. So it's important that our beginning and ending points are on the same plane. And for that reason, I like to create a straight line and then shoot for having my beginning and ending points on that straight line so I know that my continuous line pattern will be successful. And initially when I'm creating these very simple patterns, it's not so important. But when you get into more complicated patterns where you have a lot of movement in your continuous line pattern, it'll be important for you to be able to get that beginning and ending point to start on the same plane. So from your initial screen, and notice I have Quilter's Creative Touch 5 Pro, and Pattern CAD is one of my options here. So I'm going to open Pattern CAD. I've launched the program, and now I want to make some selections so that I can draw my straight line. So I want to have my nodes selected. I'm also going to select Snap to Grid. That way it'll be really easy to draw straight lines because my line will continue along one of the lines in the grid. I'm going to select Draw and Straight Line, and my node spacing I'm going to turn off. I want to create a continuous line pattern, but I don't want to have all the nodes being placed there. I'm also going to have continuous line pattern, so it's just like a drawing that I'm creating. All right, so now I am going to, with my draw selected, I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and I'm going to choose one of the grid lines, hold the left mouse button down and drag to the right. And notice even if I get off of that straight line, it will come back and snap to grid. I'm going to release the left mouse button and now I've created a straight line with 2 points. Green means go, red means stop. So I have a beginning and ending point all on the same plane. I'm only using this line for reference, so I'm going to move it to the background layer. So up here at Layers, I'm going to select Swap Layers. And notice before I do that, my line is sort of red or burgundy. When I swap layers, it turns blue. It means it's no longer the active layer. It's on the bottom. So I can draw on top of that and never affect that line. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a straight line and save it. So again, with my node selected, Snap to Grid, Draw selected, Line selected, Node spacing turned off, Continuous line checked, I am going to hold the left mouse button down, drag across, release it. I have a line. 2 points make a line. So now I'm going to save that straight line. I'll go up to my Save Pattern file. Okay, and I am going to give it a name, Straight Line. Hit Enter, and notice it appears down here, and then I'm going to save it. So I've saved a straight line that can become a continuous line pattern for a pantograph. And the reason I started doing this, I have started making more modern quilts. So a lot of times the blocks are curved pieces, and if I were to use a more intricate pantograph, it would take away from that whole design. So I made a straight line pattern to be used in that case. Now, if I want to see if my straight line pattern is going to work as a continuous line pattern, I can go down here to Preview. When I click there, it shows me what a straight line pantograph would look like with a number of rows selected. And also the big key is it tells me that this is going to be a continuous line pattern, that I have been successful in placing my beginning and ending points on the same line. So as you can see, it's going to create a continuous line pattern. So there are a couple of things that you can do. You can play with the spacing. If I wanted to increase the spacing between my lines, I could do that. decrease it and kind of see what that would look like, reset it. So play around with the options that you have. But the most important thing is in the preview, it tells you you will have a continuous line pattern. I can say OK. And then if I wanted to quilt that out, I would immediately go down to Quilt, select that, and it says you will be prompted to save your design. So I've already done that, and so now I'm going to go on to another example. But that is how easy it is to create your straight line pattern. I think it took less than 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to cancel. And then I'm going to delete what I had there. So how about the next thing we do is to create a curvy line. And again, I have my straight line on my lower layer, which will allow me to create a beginning and ending point on the same plane. So this time, node selected, snap to grid, draw, and in this case, I'm going to use a spline. So a spline will allow me to have 2 adjusting nodes that I can use. So if I say, again, I'm going to hold my left mouse button down, and I'm going to try to get close to that background layer for the straight line. And notice again, if I come off that straight line, I just need to go back to it. It snaps right to grid, and I will release it. So again, I have 2 points, a beginning and an ending point. Now I'm going to go to Edit. And then I'm going to either select all by boxing them in, or I can use select all here. And then unselect. So select all. It will allow me to make adjustments to this line. So I'm going to edit. And these are the nodes that I can adjust. So if I adjust this node here, it will draw my line up. If I adjust the node here, it will draw the line down. So in order to have, say, well, we'll just use what we have right here. And what kind of pantograph could I create from just using an arc like that? Here, let me draw this down some more. And as I move it, you know, it kind of changes the shape. So let's just go with something like that. And if I wanted to make that a continuous line, let's preview. This is what it would look like. Very easy pattern, especially if, say, you were doing a quilt that had a water scene or fish or turtles or something. I think this curved line would look very nice. So I can say OK, and I'm going to save that. Let's call it arc. And then I'll hit enter again, or I can hit save. There we go. All right, so let's delete that. Now we're going to build on that curved line. So again, node selected, snap to grid. I'm going to go to draw. I'm going to use my spline. And this time I'm going to hold my left mouse button down. I'm going to drag across 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and drag across 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks and release it. And one more time. Drag across 1, 2, 3, 4 and release. All right. Now I'm going to go to Edit. And then I'm going to select all. And notice here are my nodes that I can adjust. So let's just take this up. Okay, so I'm trying to make it sort of even as I adjust it. Let's pull this one down. And it's kind of nice to have the grid there because you can kind of see I've gone up one whole block. I've come down one whole block. And then over here, I'm going to go up one whole block. Oh, there we go. So, oh, this looks a little weird over here. Let's make it rounded out a little bit more. Okay, I think that will work. Now let's go to preview. That's the kind of line you will create. So it's a little wiggly. I could straighten it out. But again, it is continuous. I can say OK. And I am going to save this one as well. I'll call this Curvy 1. And save. Okay, I'm going to delete that. Let's try in drawing. Let's go to arc. I think maybe I can take out some of that waviness in my curvy line. Okay, again, I'm going to use as a reference my straight line. Hold left mouse button down, drag across 4, release. Hold the left mouse button down, drag across 4, release. Hold the left mouse button down, drag across 4, and release. So now when I go to edit and I select all, I only have one point here, and it's going to smooth out that curve. So let's take the first one and go up. Take the second one, go down. Take the third one and go up. And when I go to preview, you notice it's smoothed out quite a bit more. So again, continuous, and I'm going to say OK, and we're going to save this, Curvy 2. And say, I've saved these patterns, and when you want to use them as a continuous line pattern, when you are designing your quilt, open up one of your saved patterns. So we've done curvy line, we've done straight line. Let's do a zigzag line. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go back to draw, and I'm going to use straight line. Hold the left mouse button down. I'm going to draw up, release, hold the left mouse button down, and release. Just that quickly, I have created a zigzag pattern. If I go to preview, there's my wonderful zigzag pattern. Again, it's showing me what it looks like if I were to adjust it larger or smaller, but the most important thing is it's a continuous line pattern. I can say OK. I'm going to save, and I will call this zigzag. Click in the box down here, and it brings up your keyboard, zigzag, and hit enter and save. All right, you have a zigzag pattern. And we'll continue on using the straight line, because I had someone who was doing a t-shirt quilt, and there was a lot of designs on the t-shirt. A lot of them were the transfer vinyl, so they didn't want to stitch over it. So I suggested that they draw a square box within that block and then draw another box inside of that. You could use the marking tool for that, or you can just bring up a square box that you've saved. Let's see, I'm in nodes, snap to grid, draw, and straight line. So I'm going to start here. I'll go up, release, go over, release, go down, release, and go over, release. Okay, I have essentially created a square. It could be a square or it could be a rectangle, depending on how you place it as a block. All I have to do is save that. Let's call this a square. I'm going to enter, and I'm going to save. So like any other block, if I wanted to use a 4-point placement or a 2-point placement, I could place that on my quilt and then have that sew, and then place another block inside of it. And you will be using the same block, but you'll place it twice. So what if you wanted to use the feature in Pattern CAD where you bring in an image that you found on the internet? For example, if I go to background and load an image, I can select a JPEG from an image that I've downloaded from the internet. So if you're searching for line drawings, you should find some pretty simple patterns to use. Let's start with the heart. Now there you have a shape that's been imported into Pattern CAD, and what I like to do is to make my image a little lighter so it's easier to draw my design around it. So I'm going to fade, well, probably a couple of times. or you can use Control F just to make it a little bit lighter and a little bit easier to see through. So I'm going to have nodes turned on. I'm going to turn off Snap to Grid. I will go to my Draw Line. I'm going to go to Arc, and my node spacing will be turned off as well. So I'm going to start here, left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag over here to create another point. Left mouse button down, drag to here, left mouse button down, drag 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 here, and connect that point and release. So the reason I've not filled in these areas is because I should have nodes there that I can adjust to the curve of my pattern. So I'm going to go to Edit and select all, and now my adjustment nodes are visible. So I'm going to begin shaping these to my design. And it should be pretty close. But I'm creating a block pattern, so you notice that the beginning and ending points are in the same place. Okay, and I have created a heart design. So what I'm going to do now is remove the background picture. So I'm going to clear it. And then you have just the design that you've created. Now I'm going to unselect all and then select both of the points here. So my beginning and ending point. And I want to be sure that those 2 points are right on top of each other. So I'm going to say snap selected. So those 2 points are the same. And as you can see, you have a clear green line and a clear red line. It doesn't look, well, here's what it looked like before. So you could tell that they weren't on top of each other. So I'll redo, and now they are. And so that is a complete block pattern. Now I could adjust that some more if I wanted to, like you kind of have a little bit of a wonky side here. So I'm going to select that point and then just drag it out a little bit to smooth it out. Or I could, if I had 2 points selected, I could use my smooth selection and it would take out the bumpiness in that curve. Maybe I'll adjust this just a little bit more. So you can get pretty anal with this, but in the end, I think you'll end up with something that you're going to be pretty proud of. So I can unselect all, and I want to save it. And guess what we're going to call it? Heart. Heart block. And hit enter and save. So you have a pattern that you can use in any of your designs as a heart block. I'm going to delete that. Now let's go to a block pattern that's a little more complicated but allows you to see how easy it is still to create or trace your design to create a different pattern. So I'm going to again go to background, load the image, and this time I'm going to choose a shamrock pattern. Okay, and just to make it a little better for me to see, I'm going to increase the size of it. So I'm going to zoom in. And again, I'm going to fade the background so that I'll be able to see my points or the nodes that I'm adding to create this shape. Maybe one more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Nodes are turned on. I'm going to go to Draw. And this time I'm going to use the spline. That will give me a little more control over adjusting the nodes to conform to the shape. Choose spline, and again my node spacing is turned off. So I think I'll start down here and draw to there. Left mouse button down, go here, release. Left mouse button down, release. Left mouse button down, release, and on around. So again, I'm holding the left mouse button down and releasing. And I'm going to make these corners a little bit tighter just because I can do it faster. but take as much time as you need to put in as many points as you need to create the design that you want. So this is going pretty fast. And there are so many different shapes that you can get. And as many of you know, I'm a dog lover. So of course I've done the dog bone and I've done a poodle. Okay. I'm finished. And now I want to go to Edit. And I think I'm going to make this a little bit larger yet. And of course you can use your arrows down here to move your pattern to where you can adjust it. And the first thing I'm going to do is, for my beginning and ending points, I'm going to select those 2 points. Okay, I have selected, and snap selected. Okay, so I know it's going to begin and end in the correct space. Now, as I am editing, I will choose 2 points at a time. That's how you reveal your editing nodes. And I'm just going to, grab this one, kind of slide it into place. And now I want to unselect. I'll go to this one and this one. So it reveals my editing nodes right here. I'll unselect that one, selecting that point and this one. Move into place. Unselect that one. Select this one. So notice you have to have 2 points selected in order for your nodes to become visible. Unselect that one. Select this one. Unselect that one, select this one. Okay, from there I will select this point and this point. Make some adjustments. Unselect there, select here. And shaped in the way that you want. Okay, and I'm going to move my design. Unselect here, whoops. Unselect here, select here. I could use some more shaping there. It's a little wonky. But I'm just going to complete this really quickly, just to give you an idea of how fast you can go. Unselect that point, select this one. Okay, now, all right, I'm going to make this smaller to fit the screen. Not too bad, not too bad at all. I'm going to unselect all. The only thing I would probably play around a little bit more with is this section right over in here. Choose that point, and that point. And let's insert. See if we can get enough points in there to make it look the way we want. And I'm going to select this point, whoops, this point, make it larger. Unselect this point and this point. Yes, I'm going to come back and do some more work there. Unselect that one, this one, move it out, unselect all, select this point and see if I can't move this right over here where I want that to be. Select this point, move it in a little bit, unselect that point, select that point, round it out a little better. Okay, unselect all, and let's see, between this point and this point, move that out, unselect all, and we'll take this point, see if we can get it right over here somewhere, and unselect, select this point, move it over there, select that point and that point, soften that curve a little bit there, unselect that one, select that one, unselect that point, select that point, whoops, select that point, move this up a little bit, unselect this point, unselect that one, or select that point, move this down a little bit. Okay, unselect, and then let's see if we can take that little bump out of there. I think what I'm going to do is unselect all, select this point and this point, and let's try to smooth a little bit. Oops, whoa, undo. Unselect all, and then I'm just going to monkey with this one more time, then that's it. And unselect, select all, snap selected, and I am going to leave it alone and call it good. I'm going to shrink this a little bit so we can see it. I'm going to remove the nodes. Well, first let's remove the background. It's clear. And then I'll remove the nodes. So that's the pattern that I've come up with as my shamrock block, which I think that's not too bad. So, you know, I could work on it a little bit more and smooth that out, but clearly it's pretty easy when you draw a simple pattern if you want to make a block. So I'm going to save that. Save it as the shamrock block, enter, and save. And then when you open up Select and Sew, you can choose this as a block, place it 2 point, 4 point, or however you choose to place it, and size it for the area that you want it to be sewn in. So you probably want to know, how can you take all the information that you've learned so far and create a continuous line pattern that's a little more complicated? I'm going to show you how to do that. And the first thing I'm going to do is create my straight line, because that will allow me again to get my beginning and points on the same plane so that they can connect. I have nodes turned on, snap to grid, draw, straight line. I'm going to turn off my node spacing, and I have continuous line checked. I'm going to hold my left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag. And notice again, if I'm off of the snap to grid, I can just move it back up there and it snaps right to the grid. I'm going to release my left mouse button there, and now I have created a straight line. That's just going to help me stay in line with my design. I'm going to go to Layers and Swap Layers. So now it's blue, so you know it's no longer the active layer. And now I want to import a picture. And in this case, it was a picture I took with my cell phone, brought it into the computer, and now I'm bringing it into the program. So if I go to Background, Load Image, I'm going to bring in this image of a hospital curtain. I noticed this in the hospital, and I thought, wow, that would make a great continuous line pattern. So you have to realize you will get inspiration from anywhere. Pictures, designs, and all kinds of things that you'll be seeing. Okay, now I want to fade my background so it doesn't get in the way of me adding my points. And I'll fade it again. And pretty much most of the background is gone, so it's not going to get in my way. And maybe I will enlarge this a bit. Okay, and I can still see everything I need to see. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start my first point right here, so that for my design, I know it's going to begin on that plane, and then I will probably end it by adjusting my ending point here on the line. Let's start here. I also want to select spines. So now I'm no longer drawing a straight line. I'm going to draw a line with some curves. So I'm going to select spine in my draw. Off snap to grids. That will allow me to make a soft curvy line. Start, left mouse button down, hold, drag to here. Left mouse button down, hold, drag to here, about here. Okay, left mouse button down, and I think I'm going to go the inside route first. So there, to there, to here, to here. Now this one is going to get a little more complicated because some of our lines will cross over, but that's okay. I think you're ready for it. There, to there, to there, to there, to there. And in the end, I'm going to bring all those points at the center together. And then I'm going to go inside. So my plan is to do the inside of the flower first, then the outside here. We'll see how well this goes. I think it's going to work pretty well. And so I'm just clicking in place because I have continuous line selected, so it should continue without me having to drag the left mouse button. So I'm just snapping the left mouse button here, 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 back again here, over here, 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 then jumping over here, and I'm going to go up this way, up here, and bring it back down on the line. Alrighty, we've got quite something going on here. So now let's go to Edit. And I am going to select first these 2 points so that I can see my adjustment nodes, and I'm going to start curving this because a curve would look very nice with this design. Unselect that. Select here, and if it gets confusing as to which point you're going to select, I would enlarge it, and I probably will when I get to the center so I can get the right points. Move this down and move that down again, and I'm going to enlarge. Okay, unselect this one, and from here I go to this point, I'm going to curve that out. And in the end, like I said, I will probably bring a lot of these points together in the center. So I'm going from here to here, and I've curved this a little bit. And I'll move it down again. Oops, that went up. I'm going to move it down. Unselect this point. Select this point, my two adjustment nodes. I'm going to move that there. Move that there. If I had wanted to make this more pointy, I could have added more points, but I'm going to try to do it quickly. Unselect that one. Select my next point. Curve my petal out that way and a little bit that way. Unselect that point. From here, this point. No, I did the inside and then the outside. Okay, so I'm at this point right there. Okay, and I think that looks all right. So I'm going to unselect that from here to the next point. So it needs to curve out quite a bit. So here we go. And for this one, okay. And I'm going to go up a little bit. Whoops, I'm going to unselect my point before I move on. Unselect that one. Select this point. And again, I'm not making these ends as pointy as they probably could be, because I'm going quick and dirty. Unselect that point, select this point. Okay, and now unselect this point. I'm going to move down. And I believe this is the next point that is selected. Yep. And you can tell you've selected the right points if the nodes that you want to adjust become apparent. Unselect that. I'm going to move this out just a little bit. Okay. So I went from there to there. And I think, let's unselect this one. Select this one and this point perhaps. Yep. And those actually look pretty good. So I'm going to leave that one. And from here, I go right here. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit here, but I think you're getting the idea. So I don't want this to be so much like watching grass grow, but you'll see where I'm going. Let's see how we're looking. Unselect that one. I think between this node and this node, I need to insert a couple more points to see if I can't do something a little bit better in terms of shaping this. Let's try this one first. Go up, up, unselect. Let's actually take this one up here. And I'll select this one and move it there. I will connect those two. I will snap selected. Whoops. Select them. Snap selected. Okay, there it goes. And then take this one and see if we can adjust that a little bit. Unselect all, and we'll move this point. There, much better. Unselect all. Okay, I'm going to leave that. I get very particular when I'm editing, so I don't want to take all day doing this. So I'm going to go from this point to this point. Curve these around a little bit. Okay, unselect that point. I go from here to here. Okay, and we'll just curve this up just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to move down. Unselect that point. Unselect that point from here to here, I believe. And again, if you have selected the wrong points, you will not see your editing nodes here. So that's probably not the right point for there. So this one, let's go up here, probably goes to here. Yep, notice there are my editing points. Bend it up a little. Yeah. Okay, unselect that one. Let's go up. Now I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And select that one. Okay, unselect all. I'm going to move this point over here and that one over to meet it, and then I'm going to snap those 2 points together. Snap selected to make it look a little more continuous, and maybe even pull it, select it, pull it down a little bit. Unselect all. And I think I'm going to leave that just the way it is right here. I may curve this line a little bit. Unselect all. Now I'm going to do something with all of these points here. I want them to all come to a center point. So again, I'm going to enlarge, and I'll probably take a couple points at a time, So let's try this point, these two, and snap selected. All right, so they go there. And I'll take this point and this point, snap selected. Let's select this point. Oops, these 2 points. Snap selected. Okay, and then let's try this point and this point. Snap selected. Okay. This point and this point. Snap selected. Okay. And let's see, between this point and this point, maybe I need to make some adjustments. Unselect. I think I'm going to try to open this up by moving it over a little bit. Much better, much better. Okay, unselect all. So make it a little bit smaller so I can see what I have going on here. Can I get this and this to snap together? Let's try it. This one and this one. Snap select. There we go. In my mind, what I would like this to look like, I'm going to go here to Tools and Endpoint Continuity to see what it kind of looks like. So it will have, okay, so I'm seeing that maybe this is not as smooth as I had hoped. So I'm going to step back and maybe take this point and move it over a little bit to make that a slightly softer angle. Unselect that, select this point, move it over a little bit, and select that point, curve it up a little, curve it up a little, unselect that point, select this point. So it's kind of apples and oranges at this point. It's just trying to make it look good. All right, unselect all. I'm going to go to Endpoint Continuity again. Okay, so that makes it a little softer design there. Okay, undo. Now I'm going to go to Preview. Yay! Continuous. And let me just show you what would happen if it was not a continuous design. Say, for example, if I didn't have this line here that kind of focuses me to get my 2 points, my starting and ending point on the same plane. If I didn't have that line there and say, I'll select this point and it was up here a ways, okay, unselect all. If I went to Preview, I would get something that says non-continuous, and that means your beginning and ending point are not on the same plane. So let's see if I can get this back to where it belongs. Down a little bit more, Preview. Continuous. All right. That makes me very happy. Now, what I'm going to do is quilt this. I'm going to say OK, because I want to save this. And I'm going to call this Hospital Curtain. Hospital Curtain Panto. Enter, save. Okay, now let's go into Pantograph and create a really quick pattern. So it naturally defaults to thinking that you're going to create a block, but that's not where I'm going to go. I'm going to exit out of that, exit out of this as well. I don't need to save it. I've already saved it, and I'm going to go to Pantograph. And I could even do Power Panto. That'll be super quick. Let's say my width is, for my quilt, 40. My total height is going to be 40 as well. And I'm going to select my pattern, Hospital Curtain. And notice it saves it as a GPF. I'm going to select that. And so I'm looking at it. Looks pretty good. I can say, I can adjust the height of my pattern. I can adjust the vertical spacing, increase it. So we can give a little bit of space between my patterns. I rarely adjust the horizontal spacing. I can also increase the height of my pattern, so I wouldn't have these little bits of pattern stitching out here. So if I made this a little larger, let's try 5.6. 5.6. All right, that pretty much takes care of those partial patterns that were in there. So you could sew that out like that. Let's turn on stagger and see what we get. Even better. So I can then go to, I would save my pattern. I can go to sew in zones. I could save the zone sewing session if I wanted to. So I'm going to say no here for practical purposes. If I were at my quilting machine, I would place my pattern, say this is the center of my quilt. I bring the head of my machine right here. So this is where the needle on my machine is located. And then I'm going to place my pattern, and then it's ready for sewing. It begins here on the left, stitches over, comes down, and stitches back over. So you are completely done. You have effectively created your own pantograph. So I hope this has been helpful. All the patterns that I created are going to be available for download if you want to play around with them. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see more of me playing with patterns and answering questions, please join me for the QCT online Zoom meeting. We meet the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over Zoom. And you can always find the current registration at facebook.com/The Quilted Poodle.